Hello there, welcome to another Cloud with Chris weekly vlog. You're with me, Chris Reddington, and here we talk about all things cloud. Now, thank you folks for joining. Of course, you'll probably notice this is a slightly different time to my normal streaming time, of course. Yeah, I thought I'd do something a little different today, really, was the honest answer. You've probably noticed I didn't do a stream last week as well. I've been off work for the past couple of weeks on vacation, and I've taken a bit of time really just to chill out and not do a lot. And that included reducing the amount of streams and everything else that I've been doing as well. So, yeah, it's sometimes interesting realizing how much you need that downtime and that break, right? And you don't realize it until you're there. Good morning, Dan. Thank you for joining. Hope you are doing well. So, folks, normal deal. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go through the Azure blogs, the Azure updates. We're going to go through the Azure DevOps blogs, the GitHub blogs, and then ultimately talking about what's going on with Cloud with Chris as well. Going to be a bit of a longer one probably today because we're catching up on 2 weeks worth of releases and updates, etc., etc. So just sit back and enjoy, and hopefully you do enjoy. So let's go ahead and just change things over slightly. There we go. So we're going to kick off with the Azure blog to begin with. So in terms of updates over the past couple of weeks, so 2 weeks ago would have been the 12th of September, which I think is the last one that I did. So we had a few updates since then. So video analytics at the edge, an ideal technology for 5G cloud monetization. And it's interesting what they talk about in this one, because I did take a look through this one. Is, well, as the name implies, right, the opportunity for operators, 5G operators in particular, with these kind of new age applications. And it's really, really interesting how it relates back actually to this idea of telephony and mobile operators. We, of course, had a session on that fairly recently. So again, a really relevant topic and a really relevant space there. It was obviously an area, if you've listened to that session, that I didn't really have much background in. So really fascinating to see posts like this now coming out, and I can start seeing how that overall picture comes together. So good update there to be aware of. Join us behind the scenes at Azure thanks to the well-architected framework. I believe that one has now actually taken place on September the 23rd, which was, of course, earlier this week. It is available on demand, though, I believe. I did check, but the videos were not up yet. But I'm sure they will be up very soon, so definitely go back and check if you didn't get to check that live. But it looked like it was going to be an interesting set of sessions there, so I will certainly be going back and checking those out. Gaia X gets new support with European Eclipse Data Connector. So this sounds interesting. This is related to the Eclipse Data Space Connector, which is a European open source project that enables multi-cloud policy-based B2B data sharing. Interesting. Enable data innovation for modern business. Learn more about the Eclipse Data Space Connector. I'll be checking that out. That sounds particularly interesting. And as you probably guessed by the way I'm reading through these, I have not prepped ahead of time in terms of this session. As I say, I've been on vacation, so I have not been really watching the tech feeds or anything, apart from consumer tech feeds. The cloud space I haven't really been watching, so I'm pretty much seeing live reactions here today, folks, is what you've got. But that one sounds interesting. I'm definitely going to be going back and taking a look at that because, you know, this whole data sharing is a really important piece in this cloud world that we're in, of course. And then enable industrial device connectivity with thousands of partner-provided Azure IoT plug-and-play device profiles. And I think that's interesting, right? Is the part which I always see as the challenge with IoT is not the cloud technology itself. It's not the logging. It's not the back-end services, if you like. It's trying to get those existing devices to talk to those cloud services and talk to those back-end environments. And I think this whole plug-and-play idea for device profiles is an interesting one to get towards that. this IoT plug and play kind of idea. So thousands of devices are IoT plug and play enabled. They can easily connect to Azure IoT services like Azure IoT, IoT Hub, IoT Central. Then they talk about a couple of partners, CloudRail and Omnio, in that blog post as well. So if you are in the Internet of Things space, and I can already think of a couple of folks like Pete Gallagher and Mr. Johnny Chips, of course, as well. You may want to go ahead and check out that latest blog post. I'm sure they are already all over that, no doubt. But definitely check that out if it's of interest to you as well. Okay, next up then, the Azure updates for the last 2 weeks. Don't have my glass of water for today, so hopefully my voice holds out as we rattle through these. So, general availability, Azure IoT Central, new and updated features, August 2021. Azure Machine Learning public preview announcements. Let's check out what they were. Multiple private endpoints for workspaces is the answer to that one. Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Functions extension version 4 in public preview. I did see that one actually. I did put a few updates out while I was off. And this one's interesting because the new version of the Azure Cosmos DB SDK allows you to get some additional benefits like the identity side of things and using managed identities, I believe. There were some other pieces in there as well. Simplifying NuGet dependencies because the change feed processor is now built into the SDK rather than a separate package. So there's lots of good enhancements to that, but it is public preview. Just bear that in mind. Azure Database for PostgreSQL Hyperscale Citus support for Citus 10.1 is generally available. Database for PostgreSQL Hyperscale Citus support PostgreSQL 11.13, 12.8 and 13.4 minor versions. Azure SQL General Availability Updates for mid-September 2021. And that is Azure SQL Managed Instance is now available under the Azure resource in Terraform registry. That is actually a big deal. I had way back when a few customers asking for that actually. And that one effectively means SQL Managed Instance is now a resource in the Terraform provider space, if you want to think about it that way. So previously you had to do some different pieces, I believe, to actually get that working. Now it's an official resource. Azure Database for PostgreSQL Hyperscale Citus Japan West region is now available. The AKS run command is now generally available. There is a public preview of the scale down mode in AKS, and Rich Hooper has a video on this because I tweeted about this one and he let me know about that. Effectively, there's two different modes that you can go and spin up your AKS clusters now from a scale mode perspective. One is deallocate and one is deleted. So as the nodes are scaled down, do you want the nodes to be deleted, aka removing the storage and everything else that is there? Or do you want them to be deallocated so that then the attached storage is still there so that when you spin the nodes back up, it's going to be very quickly to scale out because the images are already cached and all of those kind of operations are already there for you. That's effectively what it boils down to. This is in public preview right now, so definitely on my one to watch list. I need to go and check that out. Again, of course, been off for a couple of weeks, so I have not tried any of this at all yet. Generally available Azure Red Hat OpenShift support for OpenShift 4.8. And then public preview, custom policy definitions for AKS clusters. Again, that is another one I saw while I was out. I saw a few things, not too many, but that one for me again is on my one to watch list. That is a big one in my opinion, because previously you only had the built-in policies. So what we're talking about here is being able to use Azure Policy to control, secure, make sure that your AKS cluster is compliant. So that might be, for example, that only images from certain registries can be used. That might be that your limits and your quotas, for example, are all in place and correct as you would expect them to be. Now you can go and define your custom policies, so put your own rules in place as well. So that's using the whole kind of Rego approach there. But again, great update, worth keeping an eye on and trying out, I think, there. Okay, so then next up, the public preview of V4 Cosmos DB extensions for Azure Functions. I think we just talked through that, did we not? Yeah, that looks like the same one there. What they talk about in this one, though, is at the time of this initial announcement, use of identity-based connections for Cosmos DB Trigger is limited to Elastic Premium and dedicated plans. Support for consumption plans will be added in a future service update. So if you do want to use those managed service identity or those identity-based authentication mechanisms, not possible yet on consumption plans, so be aware of that. Azure Monitor Agents and Data Collection Rules now support Windows Server 2022. Next up, Jetstream Disaster Recovery for Azure VMware Solution is now in public preview. Azure VMware Solution achieves FedRAMP High authorization. Generally available, Azure Virtual Desktop is now available in the Azure China Cloud. That is a great update for those who have sovereignty concerns with China. Azure Stream Analytics, 3 new regions are now generally available, and those regions are Switzerland North, South Africa North, and West US 3. Generally available, Azure Archive Storage is now available in 3 new regions, Norway East, UAE North, and Germany West Central. Public preview management group scopes for Azure reservations, and I believe we recently talked about Azure reservations. So what it looks like is these can now be applied at a management group level is effectively the update there, which again makes some of this management easier. Generally available Oracle consistent snapshots using Azure VM Backup, awesome. Public preview at scale management of Azure Monitor Alerts and Backup Center. Interesting. That one is interesting. Azure Database for PostgreSQL, Flexible Server, Terraform support is in public preview. Azure Database for PostgreSQL, Flexible Server, Azure Pipelines is in public preview. Interesting. There's clearly a focus on the DevOps side of things there for flexible servers. Azure Resource Health for Azure Database for PostgreSQL, Flexible Server is in public preview. Azure Database for MySQL, Azure Pipeline support is in public preview. And it looks like these are achieved by Azure CLI tasks, by the way. Azure Database for PostgreSQL Hyperscale Citus now includes PG Bouncer version 1.16. Azure SQL Database General Availability Updates for late September 2021. That includes using SQL Data Sync Private Link to establish a secure connection between the sync service and your hub and member Azure SQL databases. And then new server roles for Azure SQL Database enable database management without admin access. That is a good update there. Announcing general availability of Azure AD Joined VM support, so you can now deploy Azure AD Joined VMs in your host pools for Azure Virtual Desktop. Public preview of distributed tracing for Java apps on Azure Function Linux. The Azure Functions Runtime 4.0 is now in public preview, and that now includes support for .NET 6 as well. And then finally, general availability, Azure Sphere OS version 21.09 is now generally available there. So a great series of updates available for you. Next up then, the Azure DevOps blogs. Over the last couple of weeks, we've got a few updates. So the first one is another Azure Fun Bites episode with Jay Gordon. This one is with Senior Cloud Advocate Rory Preddy, and they talk about programming for accessibility. Again, very, very important area of focus there, accessibility. And they talk about here what is accessibility. Disability does not equal personal health conditions, how legislation impacts accessibility, and then shifting left with DevOps and some of the things you can do to bake that into your DevOps life cycle there as well. September patches for Azure DevOps Server and Team Foundation Server. Level up your skills with Bicep. I did see this one pop up. It is with April Edwards. And there is actually a great video which is available with a good friend and colleague. He's also been on the channel previously, John Downs. And that is one of the episodes that has been in the DevOps lab with April as well. So, some great folks there, some great friends and colleagues. So please do check out that video. Top stories then from the Microsoft DevOps community. So we've got Terraforming Azure Databricks, Part 1. Increase in demand for data platform automation. Terraform tools review, Terrascan, detect compliance and security violations across IAC. Azure DevOps in a nutshell using Mindmap. Part 8, bringing DataOps to Power BI. And Azure Functions, GitHub Actions, and .NET 5 isolated processes. So a great variety there. Next up then, another good colleague and community member is Peter Detender, has written a blog post introducing Azure DevOps Audit Stream. He talks about what it is, why it might be useful, why you want to consider it, noting the fact it is in public preview, and then talking about how you can integrate it with things like Azure Event Grid as well, and then some steps and tips and tricks on how you actually go and get that started and all sorted there as well. Another good friend and colleague who is on the Azure Fun Bites episodes here. This is, of course, Christos Matskas talking all about secretless applications. Again, we've seen a few updates here as we've gone through, talking about some of the Azure functions which are now available to use managed identities rather than credentials. And I love the trajectory that this is all on, being able to have a truly passwordless approach to interacting with services. I know Christos is super passionate about it, given his focus in the identity space. So again, check that one out, because that will surely be a brilliant, brilliant session with Christos and Jay there. And then finally, the top stories from the Microsoft DevOps community. We have got another DevOps Lab session, this time with Chris Manu and April, of course, who hosts that. And that is once again focused on infrastructure as code, and this time it's secrets management. In terms of broader community updates, how to project stats mapping on Azure DevOps, using Azure DevOps repos in your Azure Cloud Shell, Joe Gudango on the latest in Azure DevOps, DevOps App Security Expert uses microservices, automating DevOps to create standard tasks, how to deploy your Synapse Workspace artifacts for a managed VNet Synapse Workspace, and implementing CI/CD on Databricks using Databricks notebooks and Azure DevOps. So a great set of updates once again. So let's move on then to the GitHub blog. I don't believe there was a ton available over the past couple of weeks from GitHub. So the first off then is announcing recipients of the GitHub open source grants and GitHub sponsors now open in India. So if you're based in India and looking for some grants there, or GitHub sponsors I should say, go ahead, check that one out, because the recipients of the grants have been announced. They're announcing the GitHub sponsors is now open in India. A recap then of what happened in August and what was shipped with GitHub in August. So in terms of what came out, GitHub discussions, there's some GraphQL updates there, some general updates, repository wiki page got fancier, small but useful changes when you upload files to GitHub comments, GitHub actions. There's a few updates there, running Java projects faster by using dependency caching and using the setup Java action. You can now create composite actions that reference other actions. Windows Server 2022 with Visual Studio 2022 preview is now available on the GitHub hosted runners, and Mac OS 11 Big Sur is now generally available on the GitHub hosted runners as well. On September the 8th, so obviously this is gone now, GitHub will stop supporting API authentication via query parameters, switch over to the authorization header instead, so effectively using your JavaScript, your JSON web tokens I should say, I don't know why I said JavaScript, JSON web tokens. What else have we got? GitHub Classroom there, GitHub CLI 2.0 is available, GitHub for mobile, you can customize your shortcuts on the Home tab now there as well. Add, remove, reorder the items that display on your My Work and favorites. So some great quality of life pieces. August saw a number of incremental updates to GitHub Issues Beta, including more ways to filter your searches, the ability to convert drafts to issues, and a number of bug fixes. Check out the changelog entry for a detailed rundown. And in case you didn't catch it, the last vlog that I did, I included a section all about GitHub issues because I am on that beta, and I showcased my experience with it and how I'm using it for Cloud with Chris, and it's really, really awesome. Really a big fan, and looking forward to see where it goes there. GitHub releases, there's now a creation UI when choosing a version number tag. GitHub repositories, allow auto merge has been there for a while, of course. They've now made an update to allow maintainers to manage that setting for their repositories. Previously, only admins could manage that setting. GitHub security, GitHub Advanced Security users can now try out the GitHub Secret Scanning REST API in beta. In other alert management news, your repository's code scan alerts page has a new filter for pull requests. GitHub themes, there's now a dark high contrast theme. So been a busy month for GitHub there in terms of updates, as you can kind of gauge. So, and I believe one of the conferences is coming up once again as well. So again, be aware of that. Community stories that shaped us, the README project. So they talk through how Limo Fried built Adafruit Industries. Sonia John shared how she bootstrapped herself into coding after hyperinflation hit South Sudan. Henry Zhu took a chance and made the move from a steady job into a full-time maintainer of Babel. Accessibility to tools and education shouldn't be a barrier. Ada Nguka Oyom, I apologize for my pronunciation there, showed us how She Code Africa gives women the tools to thrive as developers, and what the community can accomplish together can literally take us beyond this world. Nearly 12,000 developers woke up one day to find their contributions powered NASA's Ingenuity helicopter. Excellent updates. And then audit log streaming is now in public beta. So much like the Azure DevOps audit log streaming, similar analogy here. But I believe, if I remember rightly, the streaming events could go, here we go, to cloud storage systems. So AWS S3, Azure Blob Storage, Google Cloud Storage. And then you can also use Splunk's add-on for GitHub as well there. According to this. So some great updates there. GitHub Advisory Database now supports Rust. So of course Rust is a very active and in-demand language. So great to see that the advisory database now supports Rust there as well. And then announcing NPM's new access token format. So identifiable prefixes, higher entropy patterns. So what this means for you, we strongly encourage you to make the move towards a new format by resetting your existing access tokens. These improvements will help you mitigate any risk to compromise tokens, as well as make our secret scanning detection more precise. You can reset your personal access tokens by clicking on access tokens and your NPM profile, deleting all your old tokens and creating new ones. So moral of the story there, by the sounds of it, is rotate your tokens if you're using NPM just to get onto the latest and greatest access token format. And those are the GitHub updates. Let's now jump over to Cloud with Chris. So on Cloud with Chris, let's jump back a couple of weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, we did weekly vlog 37. This was the one where I did the GitHub Issues beta special. I walked through how I'm using it so far, my experiences with it. And again, I am a big fan. I'm looking forward to seeing even more functionality going in there, but really feature rich already. Some great flexibility, some great customizability there. So big fan. Then on the Friday the 17th, we had a very familiar face in the community. We, of course, had Thomas Thornton join to talk about Tales from the Real World on DevOps. We talked from how repos, for example, are the basis of all things CI/CD, all the way through to pipelines, tips and tricks, and all these various bits and pieces. Then on Monday, September the 20th, I released a blog post all about what is the Azure Cloud Adoption Framework. Quite a lightweight one there. Of course, you'll notice there was no weekly vlog 38 because I'm doing this as a bit of a double stacked vlog here today. And then on Friday, so the September the 24th, DevOps Trends was a great session there once again. We had Daniela coming on and speaking about that and his experience and understanding of DevOps trends over time, which is really interesting. And we talk about this more from the trajectory of the different patterns and themes and trends of what you see across those different periods there. So that was that. I've got some updating to do on my site, of course. I need to remove the weekly vlog 38 and adjust weekly vlog 39 to account for both. But this Friday, we've got a session coming out all on Tales from the Real World on shifting left to your performance tests. And that is with Hari Krishnan. Really great session, actually. Really interesting one. We get very scientific about performance tests and how you can go and optimize those for the earlier stages, even when you're developing on your local machine. So I won't give too much away, but I found it a really fascinating talk. I really enjoyed that one. So that is one I would definitely put on my one to watch list. Actually, very, very good session. In terms of things coming up this week is a really busy week in terms of talks as well. So tomorrow, Monday the 27th, requirements, design patterns, cloud architecture, oh my, at .NET Not. It's been a little while since I've delivered that talk, so that's going to be a fun one to deliver. I talk about how requirements ultimately shape the design patterns and influence that wider cloud architecture journey, how they relate to things like the cloud adoption framework, landing zones, all these other things. And that's a fun talk. So looking forward to speaking with .NET Nots folks tomorrow. Not listed on my website, but on Tuesday, you should absolutely come along and join us and take a look at Azure Thames Valley, because we have a series of lightning talks. It is going to be awesome. We have got some amazing speakers. We've got Martin Coupland, we have got Philip Parkinson, we have got Murtietta, Richard Hooper and Dwayne Natwick, and we've got topics like Azure Functions, SAP, serverless web apps with static web apps, keeping up to date with AKS, and how to manage policy and compliance and security centers. So a great mix of different topics there. So come along and join us, meetup.com/Azure-Thames-Valley, and go ahead and RSVP on the event there for us. And then you'll get access to the Teams link details there as well. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be delivering my first in a very, very, very long time in-person session. I am so excited, no least because it's going to be in person, no least because I get to take a trip back to the homeland. So that's what I'm going to be doing a bit later today. I'm going to be driving back home to Cardiff because I'm going to be delivering a session for the Welsh Azure user group. It's going to be talking all about using Azure Arc to run your application services on premises or in any cloud. Very demo heavy. It's quite interesting, this one. This is the first time I'm going to be using videos that I've recorded, of course, but videos to drive my demos, because there's so many moving parts to the Azure Arc for Application story that even when I edited the videos and tweaked things, it still turned out to be like 25-30 minutes of demo, and I think I've got a 45-minute slot. So trying to do that live would never fly, probably. I'll probably do some of it live, some of it with the videos. So first time I'm going to be delivering this session, so it's going to be fun from that perspective as well. Always like delivering new content, and this is an area I'm super passionate about. It's going to be a really interesting space to watch, this Azure Arc for Applications. I think making sure that developers can focus on developing is key. So really interested to see this space evolve over time. And then in case you missed it, but just to call it out, in a couple of weeks we have the South Coast Summit, which will be another in-person conference to speak at, which is going to be awesome. And I'm going to be talking about static websites, deploying them the cheap and performance ways. So again, check that one out and sign up if you are not yet signed up. The intent will be to do some blog posts this week, but we'll see, because I'm going to be catching up from 2 weeks off. So I'm sure my inbox will definitely need some triaging, many things for me to catch up on. So I may not have a chance this week, but we will see what is available, especially given how much out of hours talks and meetups and everything I'm going to be doing as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I won't overcommit. But there we go, folks. That is the update. So you know the deal as always. If you like the content, please drop a like at a minimum, just so I know that you like these weekly vlogs. And if you like all of the different types of content that I like and you want to keep up to date, why not subscribe? Because we've now reached 700 subscribers. So 300 more to go until we reach the 1,000. Not aiming to do that by the end of the year, because 500 was the original goal, which we achieved a long time ago, earlier in the year. But 1,000 is the next goal. So let's see how long it takes us to get there. Of course, not just YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and cloudwithchris.com. And you will notice, actually, on cloudwithchris.com, if I just jump back one moment, cut the music for a sec, stop the press, because there's something new on my website. I now have a comment section on my website. And the beauty, if I just go to one of my older posts, where I've already posted on there, is you can go and see that this is actually just hosted on my GitHub discussions in my cloudwithchris.com repo. So you can either go ahead and comment on the website directly and authorizing the Giscus app, which is made by a third party. The code is available on GitHub if you want to check it out. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, which is absolutely fine, just go and comment directly back in the GitHub discussions area of my repository as well. So many ways to join in the discussion there as well. But folks, that is it for this week. Again, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and cloudwithchris.com. Thank you as always for your support. Glad to be back. Really stoked to get going with some more content. And as always, you know where I am. Find me over on Twitter if there's something you want to chat about. Next week we will have another gaming vlog. I haven't been pushing it yet, but I'll start pushing it this week. So if you want to get involved, do shout, do get involved, because we'd love to have you there. So with that, folks, stay safe, stay healthy, and until next week's vlog, thanks for watching or listening, and bye for now.